tell you about microfinance, you my brother, sister. So say, you fit work, go try invest to carpenter trader.
Share, you people there, it be so you they do. Muff side, and my money go long. Show proof, if you say it be true. Talk side, and my money go long.
My name is Yao Sapong. I'm the head of the Other Financial Institutions Provision Department of the Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana's role in the microfinance sector, I would say, date back to 1976. The Bank of Ghana did a study and realized that most of the banks existing at the time were not ready to move to the hinterlands to ensure that our citizens living in the rural areas were financially included in the financial sector. So the first rural bank started in Yekrom, and thereafter many rural banks have sprung up to now that we have 147 rural banks. But in addition to the rural banking concept, 2011, Bank of Ghana also started the regulation of a microfinance institution in the country. There are a number of microfinance institutions operating under Bank of Ghana. The first category of microfinance institution we license are the savings and loans companies and finance houses and the rural banks. After that, we have licensed another category of institutions that are also allowed to take deposits. And these institutions, we call them microfinance companies. They are the second tier in the microfinance industry. The first tier is the rural banks and the savings and loans companies and finance houses. And the second tier is the deposit-taking microfinance companies. Thereafter, we have the next tier, we call them tier 3. They are the microcredit companies. They don't take deposits. They are not required to take deposits, but they grant credit. They find their own resources to extend credits to alleviate poverty. In addition, we have another category of institutions called financial NGOs. They also are classified as tier 3. They are not profit-oriented. They source for funds and extend credits, sometimes with savings, to help rural dwellers and also those who have been marginalized. We have another category, also called the tier 4s. And these are principally the SISU operators in our catchment areas, the SISU collectors, and also the individual money lenders or the enterprises that grant credits.
I'm Cynthia Odonko. I'm responsible for the microfinance unit of the Financial System Development Component. And this component is under the Program for Sustainable Economic Development. So GIZ's support to the financial sector started in 2006 under the Speed Ghana project, that is support for enterprise empowerment and development. That project was a GIZ and Danida funded project with 3 outputs. One was for providing technical assistance to the microfinance sector. The other one was providing funding facility to the micro entrepreneurs through the rural and community banks. And the third one was providing business development services. This project lasted until 2010 when another project, Responsible Finance, came into being. And that was focusing on supporting the regulation of the microfinance sector, providing technical capacity to the microfinance sector, and also supporting the setup of the microfinance sector associations. These associations was a requirement under the guidelines issued by the Bank of Ghana to ensure that all the activity lines under the microfinance form associations. So GIZ provided support in the setup of these association structures. Then in 2016, that is May 2016, another project also came into being, that is the Financial System Development Project. And that one had an insurance component and then a microfinance component. And with the microfinance component, the focus was still on supporting regulation of the sector providing capacity development for the sector.
Microfinance in Ghana's context is the financing of activities that are found within the lower brackets of the financial pyramid. These activities include those within the low-income bracket, the excluded from the banking sector, and then the micro and small businesses. Now, these businesses have seen microfinance as the backbone or the key supporter when it comes to financing. What we've realized is that currently the sector sells about 15 million and over clients, and then commands an asset base of 16 billion. In terms of employment directly, it's over 30,000, and we continue to expand as the day grows. But then in our context, to see microfinance as a complementary financing, we have dedicated institutions that are licensed to do microfinance activities in this country. And these institutions include the savings and loans, the microfinance companies, the rural banks, the credit unions, the financial NGOs, the microcredit institutions, and then the SUSU collectors or the SUSU enterprises. Now, in terms of these activities, it's a central bank that regulates all the activities of this sector. But they have different levels of regulation or engagement with the central bank depending on the kind of license one holds as an institution.
Our focus is to promote financial inclusion. And if you want to promote financial inclusion, it's the excluded that you have to focus on. Because the elites are able to go to the universal banks, but when you go to the rural areas where we have the productive poor, they even though they are doing some businesses, they are not able to access these financial services. So our focus is also to bring all of them into the formal financial sector. That's why for the past years, our focus has been on the microfinance sector.
The first thing you have to look for if you want to know whether an institution is licensed is to look out for the Bank of Ghana license. We require that all licensed institutions should have their license to operate displayed at the place of business. In addition, for licensed microfinance institutions, they are supposed to have the official logo displayed even outside their building. But the list of licensed institutions is also published on the Bank of Ghana website. So you can get that information from the Bank of Ghana website. You can know if it is a licensed institution from the logo displayed outside. And when you enter the building, you must see that there's a license displayed. In addition, for licensed institution, the category of license that you hold must reflect in your name. So if you are licensed as a savings and loans, you will have savings and loans in your name. If you are licensed as a rural bank, you have rural bank in your name. If you are licensed as a microfinance company, you have microfinance company in your name. If you are licensed as microcredit company, you have microcredits in your name. If you are SUSU enterprise, SUSU will be in your name. If you are money lending, it has to be in your name. Often, we have situations where people approach us to ask whether some financial institutions are licensed by Bank of Ghana. And if you look at the naming convention, it doesn't fall in any of these categories. So by even looking at the name, you can know whether the institution is licensed or regulated by Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana determines the permissible activity of every regulated institution. So for each category of institution that we license, we have determined what they can do and what they cannot do. For every product that an institution wants to roll out, they will design the products themselves and seek approval from Bank of Ghana before they can roll the product out. And in assessing the product, we look at the risk involved and the measures the institution can put in place to mitigate those risks. So every product that is offered by our institution will be designed by the institution, submitted to Bank of Ghana for approval. And we find that if the products will help alleviate poverty, will help financial inclusion, then we go ahead and approve that product.
Some institutions have gone beyond this and they provide what you call credit with education. So instead of just giving you the credit, they give you education as part of the process. So they give you orientation, they give you reasons why when you take a loan you should pay, they give you reasons why a certain amount of credit that you need, you can save rather towards whatever you want to purchase rather than taking the loan. So they give all forms of education, and these forms of education really help a number of clients. Of course, some institutions also do what you call business coaching, business trainings, bookkeeping, and all those things, just to make sure the one at the end or the receiving end or the one who takes the loan is able to use the loan appropriately and come back to pay. They have no right to extend credit or provide loans to anybody. So what they do is that once they collect the money from you, they give it back to you at a great period, and then once they give the money to you, you also pay them the commission. And then once you operate, depending on the level that you find yourself, you also have to belong to a group or any of the associations that exist. So for instance, you cannot do savings and loans and then you decide to go in isolation. You have to make sure you are part of the group so that whatever benefit that the association gets from the supporting partners like GIZ, and then the things that we do in everyday life, as well as the Ministry of Finance or even the Bank of Ghana themselves, trainings and other things that they offer, you can also benefit.
The financial inclusion agenda of the Bank of Ghana, a lot of our rural dwellers, the poor and the marginalized, have been able to have access to financial services. They now have the opportunity to save with a financial institution. They have opportunities to access credit from financial institutions to expand their business. And for some category of our microfinance institution, they can have access to payment services as well, and even insurance products too. Banking is a highly regulated activity. Apart from the Banks and SDI Act, our institutions are required to comply with various laws and regulations. I've mentioned the Borrowers and Lenders Act. Another act that we expect our institution to comply with is the Data Protection Act. And our institutions are supposed to ensure that they operate at the highest level of confidentiality, protect customer data, and not allow people who shouldn't have access to customer information to get access to them. We had about 566 institutions then. It was brought down to 180. They have given us the resources that we need to ensure that the 180 institutions, we can regulate them the way we have to make sure that they play by the rules. To ensure that the data of customers will be protected, we require that our licensed institution have to register in the Data Protection Agency. At the Bank of Ghana, the structures we have in place, we have teams that go around the institutions to ensure that they are playing by the rules. Even off-site, as we sit in our office, the institutions are supposed to be submitting returns. And these returns are reviewed by our officers to detect early warning signals. Then thereafter, we also go there to examine them periodically.
On the larger scale, what we've also seen is that there has been tremendous improvement in our relationship with the public and the clients. So what we've seen is that our numbers are going up in terms of people who are accessing microfinance activities. But just last 2 years, it was around 13.4 million. Today, we are over 15 million clients. And that tells you that something good is happening down there. Now, our institutions are also becoming more liquid in the sense that we've seen the bad loans that they were doing, the numbers are cutting down. They are being more cautious in giving loans.
We know they joke like that.
After the cleanup, now people are more confident. They deposit freely with the microfinance institution, and in fact, it is showing the numbers. Now, the total asset of the industry is higher than before the cleanup. So the total asset of the 500 institution at the time, now that we have only 180 institution, we have more deposit in the system, more credit in the system, and then the total asset is much, much higher. So that demonstrates the fact that the public now have confidence in the microfinance institution. In addition, the Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation has come into operation, and depositors of microfinance institutions are also insured. So in case of any eventuality, the corporation will step in to pay depositors the insured amounts. If there are any challenges, if any customer has any challenge, the first place of call is the institution, for the institution to try and resolve the issue. And if the institution is not able to resolve the issue, it can be escalated to Bank of Ghana. We have a team in place that look at customer complaint. We have a team in place that ensure that the conduct of our financial institution is what we require of them.
Usually what happens is that when something happens, the client reports to the institution. But many times, it's the same institution that is involved, so how do you report to the institution? It becomes difficult line for most clients. So they will either come to their association or go to the central bank, where that is if they have the know-how or they have knowledge about reporting to the central bank. If you don't have, they usually come to the association, and then depending on the issue, we also tell the booking, you can move the next step by reporting to the central bank.
There are a number of new initiatives deployed by Bank of Ghana for the industry. First of all, we are now allowing our institutions to go digital. So Bank of Ghana has established a fintech and innovation office where institutions can seek approval to deploy digital products. And a number of our microfinance institutions have applied, and some have secured approval to engage in digital lending, for example. We are also ensuring that not only will our institutions grant credits, but they have to grant credit in a responsible way. So we are working on sustainable banking and finance. We are ensuring that our institutions will not finance illegal activities like galamsey and all that. So all these things are being rolled out at the Bank of Ghana. We have the Fintech and Innovation Office. So they have deployed what we are calling regulatory sandbox, where our licensed institution can try some of their digital products.
Issues of climate finance and climate change has come out very well. A lot of countries have gone far ahead of Ghana when it comes to climate smart financing. And microfinance activities are just not devoid of it. We have started the whole process, and with the support of GIZ, we are creating what we call the Climate Hub, where knowledge and sources of funding and all those activities that are involving product design, everything will be there for people to tap into. In fact, we've gone very far with the process and we'll be launching it very soon. The issue of financing and to make sure we become more efficient, cost effective, is also coming up. And today, digitization has taken a trend. It's everywhere. There are some countries, virtually when you go, you don't see anything apart from digital processes. And for those of you who travel, it's even becoming more difficult. There are some airports you don't see people any longer. You go to the airport, you have to do self-service. And all these things are happening because of the digitization. And therefore, we also have taken the game to that level that we think our clients cannot be left out. So we are doing everything possible to make sure our clients understand the processes of digitization and also to make sure they use it effectively. So for instance, in Ghana, the common thing is the mobile thing that we all do. At some point, it has become more seamless, and therefore we all need to embrace it. And microfinance is not letting it go without taking part or doing their bit. Of course, there are certain things, certain levels that microfinance cannot just take the game to. So what we do is that you leverage on existing platforms, you leverage on things that exist already. For instance, issues of GIZ, working with our microfinance institutions to do disbursement of some loans to people. All these things are ongoing processes to make sure we also become part and parcel of the digitization process.
Know your pattern, do your pattern, do your pattern, do your pattern.
GIZ is currently supporting the Ministry of Finance to develop a microfinance policy to give direction for the microfinance sector. And this, together with the regulation from Bank of Ghana, we believe microfinance will be promoted in the country and will be one of the tools that can support the government's agenda of alleviating poverty.
The prospect for the industry is very bright. We have seen increased interest in the industry. Most of our institutions are now requesting to open more branches. They are requesting to roll out new products. They are requesting to roll out even digital products as well. And their deposit levels are increasing, credit is increasing, and a lot more of our poor and marginalized citizens now have access to financial services through the microfinance industry. So for the prospect for the industry is very bright, and we believe that if we have to have an all-inclusive development agenda, then we have to patronize the services of a microfinance industry in the country.
This documentary is part of the Financial Literacy and Education Campaign brought to you by the German Corporation through GIZ, GHAMFIN and Bank of Ghana. Always know your financial rights and fulfill your financial obligations and responsibilities.